The ABC is involved in yet another scandal, this time somehow doctoring video in a way that made a Special Forces soldier, Heston Russell, seem a war criminal, firing 6 shots at unarmed Afghan civilians. What is the ABC trying to do to Russell, and why? Now, the ABC last year had already been found guilty of defaming him after accusing Russell of having had an Afghan prisoner shot. Its evidence was trash and it had to pay Russell nearly $400,000. But during that case, Russell's lawyers handed over to the ABC video shot by him and his unit, little cameras on their helmets, in an operation in Afghanistan where they came under fire from a couple of Afghans. They tracked one of the shooters running back to a compound and fired a warning shot to make him stop, as Russell told Channel 7's Spotlight show last night. But then that Afghan seemed to pick up another gun.
After the warning shot, this insurgent has run into a compound and the drone has witnessed him bend over and pick up something. He's picked up something that looks like a weapon. And you'll hear me telling my soldier, shoot him, shoot him. If we listen closely, you'll hear that. Then you'll see that's the footage of my guy shooting at him in the compound.
But the ABC doctored that tape to make it seem that Heston Russell himself was all along firing all those shots you just heard at the end, bang, 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 at unarmed civilians, as it seemed in the first shot, the warning shot scene. And by the way, the gunner wasn't even Russell, but another man.
We don't have the vision that comes immediately before this, but this Australian soldier is firing towards what appear to be unarmed civilians in residential compounds.
The footage had been doctored so that the later shots were added to the warning shot. It was incredible.
The version of events told by the ABC's Mark Willesee, which starts with 6 rounds of firing. Then, the single warning shot becomes 6.
To me, it appears some of these figures are
They've literally added extra gunshots.
Now, the ABC says, whoops, it's removed the online video where an error has been identified and admitted based on a preliminary inspection of the audio. The ABC is seeking more information on how this occurred. It insists this error had nothing to do with the reporter, Mark Willesee, or the producer. Joining me is Heston Russell. Heston, what a nightmare you've gone through. Has the ABC given any explanation to you for this or offered any apology?
G'day, Andrew. No. And I've written to Kim Williams, the new ABC chair, overnight, asking to meet with him and discuss this. And one thing I'd like to make perfectly clear is, one, they've changed the footage to add those gunshots, but 2, they were provided with the entire 5 minutes worth of helmet cam footage that shows after that engagement, me and my signaller land, go and try and capture this person and then get ambushed and shot at by these insurgents. So if the ABC wants to say, hey, Mark Willesee, Joe Pacini weren't involved in this editing, that's fine. But the whole story is completely wrong, and they've had the full footage for nearly 18 months since April last year, and they've made no attempt in what I say they've tried to frame me and my soldiers for their own alleged war crime.
Well, it's weird. You know, either they didn't watch all this critical video before making the story, which seems very slack, or they did see it and either didn't understand it or twist it or whatever. The whole thing is weird, and I'd love to hear an explanation. What difference to you did that editing of that tape make?
Massively. From a psychological perspective, I never truly appreciated how much this would impact me until I saw that footage. I broke it down and I went to my original helmet camera footage and saw that they had edited and added those gunshots. And there was a moment where it just broke me to realize that, you know, I was in the federal court fighting them on defamation, you know, by our democratic laws of the land, and this giant $1.4 billion beast I was up against, funded by every Australian taxpayer, was willing to go to the lengths to doctor footage and add gunshots in order to try and slam me and try and win. in their fight against me. That's when I sort of realised that those values, you know, and those freedoms that we so espouse that veterans go and fight for don't mean anything back home when you take on the ABC to prove them wrong.
So one warning shot at a man who had shot at your troops is turned into 6 shots at unarmed men, unarmed civilians, according to them. It's really just so extraordinary. I mean, I'm laughing, but I shouldn't. I mean, this must have been devastating for you and for your mum and for your friends as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly when we gave them the full footage that shows us then inserting out of the helicopter, going to capture this dude and getting in a firefight for them. Like, I was sitting there and I had to show my mum that raw footage of me getting shot at. Like, the ABC has that footage. It clearly shows they weren't unarmed anyone. And yet for 18 months, they allowed that narrative that it was simply indiscriminate shooting at unarmed civilians from a helicopter to be up on their website, getting all the views and the narrative carried on by others, including The Guardian. Plus, they went as far as adding extra gunshots to reinforce their fantasy narrative.
So what needs to be done now?
Look, I've asked to meet with Kim Williams, and if I don't meet with him, then there's a whole raft of new legal procedures, including criminal defamation, I can pursue. And the biggest thing also, Andrew, and for your viewers, is where is the Department of Defence, mate? This footage and all the communications between myself, the helicopter, the drones, this entire engagement is recorded on the Department of Defence archives. Department of Defence Commonwealth lawyers sat in my federal court case and were exposed to this helmet cam footage as well. And at no point have they stood up to defend me, my soldiers, my family, reached out to offer support. Why am I, a veteran deployed to Australia to Afghanistan, fighting the ABC on this in the federal court and the court of public opinion without any support from the Department of Defence, who ordered me to go over there and to conduct these operations with my soldiers?
That is absolutely disgusting. I mean, if I make a mistake, my employer sticks with me. If I don't make a mistake and defame, my employer sticks with me. You didn't make a mistake. Where's the Australian Defence Force? No wonder it has trouble recruiting people, Heston Russell. It's just a disgrace. I'm so glad that you've had the strength and character and put your money on the line to clear your name with the ABC. You might have to do it all over again, I'm afraid, but good on you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate your support.